Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, December 7th, 2020. I am Dave Biddle. I am joined by Steve Helwagen. Steve, it is the game week. We hope, Ohio State, Michigan at the Horseshoe, scheduled for this Saturday. High noon, Fox will be televising it. Buckeyes open as 30-point favorites over Michigan. 30-point favorites over Michigan. First of all, what are you hearing? Do you think the game will get played? What are kind of the odds in your mind that we'll see this game? And what do you think about the Buckeyes being favored by 30 points?
Yeah, interesting stuff all the way around, Dave. And I think the way the Buckeyes finally put it all together in many respects at Michigan State in the face of tremendous adversity, I think this is one of those moments like they had in 2014, maybe like the Penn State game where the odds were stacked against them and, some things weren't going their way and they found a way to adapt and overcome and went on and had what was a national championship season. This is when champions are built in a moment like what we just saw this past weekend. And now you look ahead to Michigan and you mentioned the 30-point spread. That got me thinking. I'm going through the annals here and I'm already all the way back to like 98. And the biggest spreads I can find are Ohio State favored by 21 in 2014, the game, season I just referenced. And the Buckeyes won 42-28. JT Barrett got injured in that game. And then another one, a 20-point line right on 20 was in 2008. And Michigan was at complete rock bottom. Michigan ended up, Ohio State won the game 42-7 that year. And I know Michigan had a losing season that year as well. So, it's rare that you would see a line. 30 is unthinkable in this rivalry. So, I don't know. Michigan has not had a great year, obviously. Just, it didn't play last week because of COVID. Lost to a winless Penn State team the week before that. So as bad as the first 5 weeks were, the sixth week was even worse. So, it's a very troubled time, I think, at Michigan right now. Is Jim Harbaugh going to stay? Is he the guy to bring this program back from the abyss? Or abyss he basically created himself? Or are they going to, end it and go in a new direction? And then obviously the uncertainty of the game, Dave. I think we'll know more today. I think Michigan's going to do some testing today and see if they were able, like Ohio State was a week ago, to stop the spread. And if they have enough healthy bodies, then they may as well play the game this week, regardless of the result. I think they're kind of darned if they do, darned if they don't, because obviously, they're going to be missing some people if that's the way it comes down, and probably not in for a very competitive game if it is played. But from Ohio State's standpoint, it needs to be played. I haven't looked this up exactly. I think they've played every year since about 1917 or something like that. So it would be it would be a footnote, certainly, that there's no Ohio State-Michigan game this year, but we have seen some of the other rivalries across the country not get played this year because of COVID, and it's unfortunate, but just the way of the world. And I'm of a mind that if they don't play Michigan, they'll probably play somebody else. And whether that's Nebraska a second time or they flip opponents and maybe it's Maryland and Nebraska would play Rutgers type thing, I don't know, but I think that something's going to happen to get it worked out one way or the other. Heck, Maryland might be a more competitive game than Michigan.
Yeah, especially if younger Tagovailoa is healthy, which I believe he is. Michigan, I'm hearing their top two quarterbacks would be out most likely, and not due to COVID. McNamara's dealing with the shoulder injury, and then Milton, I guess, came up with an injury too. So they'd be down to a true freshman named Dan Villari, who hasn't even taken a snap yet. It was a 3-star recruit. It wasn't like he was some big-time recruit coming in. So that's what I'm hearing. That's not confirmed. But if the listeners are wondering, well, do we guys know anybody from Michigan who would be out? Yeah, their top two quarterbacks would be out. It sounds like. Again, none of this is confirmed. So I'm with Steve, though. I think we might find out something today, tomorrow at the latest, because I don't think they're going to wait till Wednesday to get this resolved. I think the Big Ten wants to know. Let me ask you this, Steve. I agree with you. I think either the Michigan game is going to get played as scheduled, or they're going to find Ohio State another opponent. For the sake of argument, let's say that doesn't happen. The Buckeyes do not play this Saturday. They're sitting there at 5-0. Do you think the Big Ten will change its 6-game minimum and still send Ohio State to Indy?
Well, that is a great question. And I know that Brett McMurphy, I think, tweeted that out Saturday after played. I think it became crystal clear to everybody in the Big Ten camp, as we say, under one tent, so to speak, that Ohio State should be in the playoff this year. And it does the Big Ten good to have a team in the playoff. And perhaps the only way to make that happen is to revoke that rule and allow Ohio State to play in the Big Ten championship game. But I don't know. I'm torn on the whole idea. I honestly don't think Ohio State should be penalized for losing 2 games when Maryland couldn't play and Michigan couldn't play. Now, granted, Ohio State could not play against Illinois, but that was just 1 game. They're being penalized because opponents couldn't put a football team on the field. And that shouldn't happen, in my opinion. I think there should be some leeway there. If you have to miss 3 games because your program was infected, then so be it. But it's all perspective. In 2020, I say you get what you deserve. Well, nobody's getting what they deserve in 2020. This has been a bunch of crap the entire season. So I don't want to, use terms that minimize, what we've all been through with the pandemic. That was the most important thing that's happened this year, and how people have dealt with it has been the most important thing. And football is strictly a side venture, or, something off to the side of diversion. So I'm not really worried about that, but I do think that Ohio State should not be penalized if other schools couldn't play games against them. I just think that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think that they're going to waive the 6-game minimum if they need to. If Ohio State can't play again, I think there's a really good chance Ohio State's going to play this Saturday, either against Michigan or somebody else. Go ahead, Steve.
This is my feeling. And I figure Gene Smith, or Kevin Warren, somebody needs to come out early this week and say, look, this is what's going to happen. I don't think they want to preempt Michigan. I think they want Michigan to make the decision in the proper time with the proper data and with, if you can play the game, play the game. Don't come out on Monday and say, well, if they can't play the game, then we're going to, reconfigure the schedule, because that gives them an out. You want Ohio State to play Michigan. That is your bread and butter game. That's the game that television bases a lot of their contract around, because it usually delivers a huge rating. And so I think that this is something that's going to drag out till Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday. And then, unless Michigan comes out today and says, like Ohio State did finally on Friday, we are definitely playing. So it would be great to see Michigan be able to resume football activities today or tomorrow. That would give you a better indication of where things are headed. But I really want to see Kevin Warren lead here. That's what I want to see more than anything else. He's getting paid the big bucks. He's been to hell and back with all the decisions he's made. Well, here's another crossroads moment for you, bud. You need to step up and get this right.
Kevin Warren and leadership. Those things don't seem to go well together, but we'll see.
Mutually exclusive.
Yes, that's the way it appears, Stephen. All right, let's push this. Let's look back on the Michigan State game for a second. You mentioned a little bit about the Michigan State game. Man, did they look good, despite being down 23 players, including 17 scholarship players, 4 full-time starters, and then 2 top reserves. Because Josh Brucker is not technically a starter, but he plays like one. He wasn't out there either. Down 3 starting offensive linemen, and they win 52-12. I think the committee would have been impressed, Steve, if the Buckeyes would have won, given those circumstances. If they would have won by like 17-21, the committee would have been impressed with that win. To win by 40, that was great to see them get some style points. And so many young guys played well. A couple of guys that stood out to me, offensive lineman DeJuan Jones at left tackle. He is, I mean, he just ragdolls people. He just with ease moves big men around, and he is a massive man, but he moves well because of his, he was a really good basketball player, has great feet. I really like DeJuan Jones a lot. Massive man, 6'8", 360 is what he's listed as. You talk to his teammates, they're like, yeah, he's more like 380. But he moves so well. I was really impressed with him at left tackle, filling in for Thayer Munford. And then Ronnie Hickman filling in for Josh Proctor. Ronnie Hickman, a redshirt freshman safety. I thought he played really well. Now, he did have the penalty where the guy kicked his helmet. Hayward, he went and pushed him. But I thought Ronnie Hickman played well. DeJuan Jones, Ronnie Hickman. And there were other young guys that really stepped up, Steve. Just your thoughts on maybe some of the guys that finally got a chance to play and how they performed.
Yeah, I think you got to be excited about the depth of this football team because it was finally put on proper display, kind of by necessity, more than anything else. And I think particularly that offensive line, I made the comment when we heard how the rotation was going to go with Harry Miller at center and then Matthew Jones at left guard, Wyatt Davis right guard, Max Ray at right tackle, and DeJuan Jones at left tackle, that it was kind of a patchwork offensive line. And then somebody said, no, not really, because if you look at Matthew Jones and Max Ray, they were both highly recruited players. DeJuan Jones, I think, was looking at Indiana and ended up at Ohio State just maybe as a project because he's 360 pounds, an athletic 360-pounder. And they have really developed him in 2 years. He got to play some last year as a true freshman. And I think it seems to me, he's going to be a guy they're going to have a hard time keeping off the field going forward. So, unfortunate for guys that weren't able to be there this past weekend. You make a good point on Hickman. He flashed across my screen a couple times. Gant, a junior, he came in and made some nice plays, I thought, too. There was a third down play where they threw a screen, and he and I think it was Browning or somebody came up and hit the guy about a yard. It was like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and he stayed at home, played his assignment, and they stopped the guy after like a 1-yard loss, and it was like, no siree, not on my watch. And that's what you need is guys who are going to play physical, play smart. And I saw a lot of that out of a lot of young guys. So it was impressive, I think, at times. There was one bad coverage break. They threw down the sideline where Michigan State was at, and it looked like Williamson, the slot corner, turned over the wide receiver to the one high safety, who for that series was Bryson Shaw, who had just come into the game. Maybe he'd played a little bit before that, but Shaw was a little bit late in coming over. I don't know if it was a miscommunication, a coverage break, whatever, but instead of the 3 50-yard plays and a 33-yard touchdown that Indiana had, you just had that 1 50-yard play by Michigan State in this game. And otherwise, they slammed the car door on their head. I mean, there wasn't much out there for I give their backup quarterback credit. His first 11 passes got him into scoring range a couple times, victimized, through the pick. There were some turnovers, whatever. But, I thought on the whole, the defense, I would grade them almost an A- maybe for the way that they played. And if you want to grade it on a curve based on the last game, it's like an A++.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we might be watching the best defensive tackle tandem that we've seen at least since 2014. Michael Bennett and Adolphus Washington were really good on the national championship team, but Tommy Togiai and Haskell Garrett, that is a fantastic defensive tackle combination. I want to ask you about the poor snaps from Harry Miller. And as we saw when Luke Whippler went in there and fired one over Jack Miller's head late in the game, and I don't know if they had anybody else they could have turned to be the center other than Harry Miller. My biggest thing was, though, and I thought Harry Miller got a little better as the game went on. There was really nowhere to go but up. And to be clear, I'm not picking on Harry Miller here. That was, even though he's played center, he's repped there, and he was a center in high school, number 2 center in the country coming out of high school. It's not like he's never played there before. He's played there a lot. That was his first time in college, getting a start and at center. He's been the left guard, and it's not easy. But he did get better with the shotgun snaps a little bit as the game went on, but it was a major problem. when you're at the goal line, Steve, and you've got a guy making his first start at center and he's snapping the ball all over Spartan Stadium, why the hell are they not going under center sometimes, especially in short yardage? I'm sitting there just pulling my hair out. Like, what is Kevin Wilson doing here? Why are they not going under center? That's the easiest thing in football. I wasn't very good at football, but I could take a snap from under center. I mean, that's pretty easy to do. And Ryan Day has shown that he's willing to do that. So I couldn't believe they didn't go under center. They didn't do it at all. I can't believe they didn't do it quite often. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you had a guy who was really keyed up and just fired up to do, what he needed to do. And that center position has to point out all the assignments and point out where the middle linebacker is and set the blocking scheme in some regards for the play call, I guess. And I just think that it was a little bit much for him in that moment to try and do all of it. And, one or two errant snaps is not a problem, but when you run, I don't know what the exact number was, 60 plays, and there were 30 bad snaps, and I'm probably, I got to be close on that number. It could have been somewhere between 20 and 30. Were just anywhere but his waist. They're trying to run the ball to the right. He's got Master Tig standing beside him to the right, and the ball comes up over Justin Fields' left shoulder. They can't. I mean, you've wrecked the timing of the entire play.
Normally you would wreck the entire timing of the play, but Justin Fields is such a magician. Poor snap. Is it going to be a turnover? No. Fields runs for 15 yards at a first down. Justin Fields is amazing. I'm not breaking news there, but go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
He's a magician. There's no doubt about it. And they ran for 322 yards in this game, and they lost 24 yards on the errant snap. They counted that against them. So honestly, the number was really 346 yards if you didn't count that play. So they overcame it. And you're right, Fields. I almost tweeted. Again, I try and be down the middle. Like, I could have tweeted any number. There were a lot of snarky things being said about Harry Miller on Twitter during the game. And I almost tweeted that Justin Fields deserves the Heisman just for, fielding these snaps all afternoon. But
and making something out of them. That's what's crazy.
Yes.
I know I just said it, but it was like time and time again. It's like they're either going to turn the ball over or they're going to lose 10 yards because of a bad snap, and Fields turns it into a positive play. He's the best quarterback in Ohio State history. And I know he's only started 19 games here, but I'm confident we're watching the best quarterback in Ohio State history. So we'll see what happens.
He's fun to watch. And looking forward, if they do play this week, which I'm assuming they'll have an opponent, Michigan or somebody, I don't think we can properly speculate or understand who is coming back because of contract tracing and who is coming back or who will not come back because of a positive 21-day out type deal for the Big Ten. So I'm going to work under the assumption that if they didn't play this past week, they will not play against Michigan, and be delightfully surprised if a Josh Myers or somebody does pop back in there this week, because I do believe that's an issue that most or all those guys won't play against Michigan either.
Yeah, maybe if Michigan's sitting there thinking we have no chance against Ohio State, and they sit there and think, well, maybe we do if they're snapping the ball all around Ohio Stadium. But no, I think Harry Miller will get that cleaned up. And hopefully, like you said, I think there are some guys who missed this game because of contact tracing. And I think some of the guys that missed the game will be able to play this Saturday. We'll see what happens, though. Great stuff from Steve Helwagen. Thank you to all listeners out there. Have a great day, Bucknutters.